Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to my Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Thank you. Welcome to the party, pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 105. I've got Daniel Lacalle from, he's an Austrian economist from Madrid, and he is a friend of Javier Milei, and we are going to talk about Javier Milei and his campaign and what he's doing in Argentina. First of all, Daniel, can you tell us, how did you become an Austrian economist?
Oh, it's a very good question. As you probably can imagine. By the way, thank you for inviting me, Chris. It's a great pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. It's been great having you on here. Milei is getting a lot of hits, so yeah.
So as you can imagine, when I studied economics, the consensus and what was basically provided as the general knowledge was all Keynesian. No, was all basically the Keynesian consensus, social democratic view about the economy, etc. And it wasn't until I started as a portfolio manager in a hedge fund that I started to get information about the Austrian School of Economics. So I started reading Mises and Hayek and so many others. And actually, I probably started from the ones that are closer to our time, like Joseph Salerno and other economists. And it really opened my eyes, and it certainly opened a completely different view about the monetary system, the global economy, the way in which the economy works, etc. So, and I got acquainted with Peter Schiff and other people that from where I started to get more information and reading more about the Austrian School of Economics, and that certainly was the beginning of my change from the classic liberal side to a more libertarian view.
Yeah, did you read any of the Spanish speaking or writing Austrian economists? I know there's a few good ones.
I started to get acquainted with Jesus Huerta de Soto, who's now a very good friend.
Yeah, Soto, you said?
Sorry, Huerta de Soto.
Mm-hmm. Who de Soto?
Huerta
de Soto. Okay.
Huerta de Soto. Mm-hmm. I knew of him, and I started reading some of his writings about socialism, about the mistake of lack of economic calculation, and the things that he had, the papers that he had written, some phenomenal work. Also, I became friends with Juan Rayo, who's also quite well known, and yeah. And also, obviously, and from there I went backwards, and I started to read the scholastics, the Spanish school of Salamanca. So
yes.
an interesting process, no?
Yeah. So okay. So now let's get to the main topic. When did you first meet Javier Milei?
I first met Javier when I was already president of the Spanish Hispanic Mises Institute, and he was a very well-known classic liberal Austrian economist in Argentina. And we started precisely by what currently is now the hot topic, discussing the need for dollarization of the Argentine economy, the problem of inflation, and the imbalances created at the government side with the central bank and all of that. That was in 2017, and we became very good friends. We shared a few panels, a few things, and we're constantly in contact. And I've been following his political career in quite amazed and quite positively surprised, because I know and I love Argentina as a country that is very dear to me. And obviously seeing that there's hope is always a positive.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. So you met him just when he was, doing working as a
Yeah.
professor. He wasn't even in the Congress down there.
No, he wasn't a politician. He had not decided to move into politics, but he was a very well-known economist, a very polemic media figure, very, uh, very lively in debates and on television, etc. And that's something that we share. No, I'm also uh, quite quite active in television, radio, etc. So that made us sort of understand better the need to provide a simple but realistic view to the people of what is going on.
Yeah, how did Milei first get onto TV at all? Because it sounds like he got onto some of the media down there. He got invited to TV news or to comment on things.
All the time. Yeah. He became very, very well known because we are all used to be on television with a very diplomatic and very calm down, sometimes restrained approach. And here comes this force of nature, Javier Milei, he does not hold back, no, and he goes on TV and he says exactly what people think for probably the first time, and also very vehemently, no.
Yeah.
So obviously he became a media figure precisely because he was somebody that was saying exactly what people knew what was happening. The problem. Sorry, I have been on television and also in radio in Argentina, and what we tend to do sometimes is to try to provide a sort of balanced diplomatic view. Okay. But in Argentina, you cannot do that because the level of disaster is so aggressive that Milei's approach was actually the right one, which was to go, no, the problem are the politicians. The problem is the state. The reason why you are losing purchasing power of your currency, the reason why your salary is not paying for the goods and services that you require is not because supermarkets are evil. It's not because the different shops are colliding to increase prices. It's because the government is destroying the purchasing power of the currency. So, he became very, very well known, sometimes for being too aggressive. But the reality of Argentina is that if you don't become aggressive and if you don't show things aggressively, everything gets washed in this sort of, well, Argentina is a country in which everybody in the media says the dollar is rising. No, the dollar is not rising. The peso is collapsing. No. So when you start by a false narrative, which is to say that the problems of Argentina are created externally, no, it's a very high dollar. No, the dollar is not high, as all of our U.S. friends attest. No, they know that the U.S. dollar has been almost flat relative to most major currencies for many, many years. No, so in Argentina, there was, before Javier Milei arrived on media, there was this sort of almost consensus view that the problems of Argentina were external, that the dollar is too high, that if prices are going up, it's because of supermarkets, it's evil corporation, that if the economy is doing badly, it's because of the Americans, whatever. It's always the external enemy, no? And Milei was probably not the first, but not the first at all, but certainly the one that said things that everybody knew aggressively, simply, and providing a radical solution.
What do you think made his message receptive? What was it? Just because he was the first person? I mean, he didn't do as well, for example, as Jose Luis Espert when he ran for president. So what did Milei do differently? And because we're all wondering what's he doing, because this is the most successful free market presidential campaign anywhere really ever, as far as I know.
I would say that what he has done is not to try to sugarcoat anything. He does not. He when he is asked, he is not saying, "Well, the state." No, he says, "No, the state is the problem. The politicians are not the solution. Politicians are the problem." He is given an unequivocal, extremely clear, and no holdback message that people relate to, because they see that it's sincere and that it's heartfelt. I think that's the big difference. Jose Luis Espert is a tremendous economist, great guy, very also dear to me. Maybe he was trying to provide a more balanced, more diplomatic approach, etc. And obviously his views are less close to libertarian and more close to what we would consider classic liberal, absolutely legitimate. No, but I think that what Milei arrives when the Argentinians have been hearing for too many years that everything is a problem that comes from abroad, and that the solution is more socialism, and that what needs to be done is that if prices go up, they need price controls. If exports are not rising, they need to impose export clamps. So every time that there was a problem in the Argentine economy, the solution that was sold to the public was not more opening, not liberalization, but more socialism. And obviously things got worse and worse and worse and worse exponentially. And I think that what resonated with people, with Javier, was that he did not try to sugarcoat anything. That he said, look, this is the problem of Argentina. And people understand it very well. And why do people understand it? Because excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Allergy.
You're excited too, yeah.
What happens in Argentina is the following. Everybody in power, from the more moderate to the more left-wing, has always tried to sell that there is a sort of gradual approach, that things have to be done smoothly, that you have to do things, that certain things cannot be done, and that certain things are basically things that you cannot change, like high inflation. But anybody in Argentina takes a flight, goes to Uruguay, and inflation is 10 times lower. 1 hour away. 1 hour away. What's the difference? The currency, nothing else. Same challenges in terms of supply, same challenges in terms of energy, same challenges in terms of global trade. So
currency has the same name.
Even the currency has the same name, but the issuer is different. So I think that what made Milei more popular was that he started to gain popularity with young people, and those young people started to tell older people, look, I mean, it's not the supermarket that is increasing prices 12% per month. It's that the currency that you're paying with is worth nothing. And the reason why you, citizen, know that the currency is worth nothing is because the moment that you earn your salary in pesos in Argentina, citizens do whatever they can to convert them to dollars. So when somebody comes up and says, this is the problem, suddenly it's like, finally, that was precisely what I think made the difference with other extremely knowledgeable and very good economists in Argentina.
Yeah, that sounds good. What kind of people is he surrounded with? Is he surrounded around a lot of good people around him too? I mean, are they all pretty solid? I mean, That can be important when you're, especially if he becomes president, who's on his team, because some people, they get in there, but they still got bad people around them. So
yeah, I think that is a key element. I think that he is surrounding himself very carefully with people that basically gave up on Argentina, that know the problem, that know the solution, but the system was basically placing them outside. And obviously, now they have a platform in which they can actually implement a truly liberal in the European sense, so a truly free market oriented approach to the Argentine economy. Which, and this is important because in Argentina there's a narrative, like everywhere, like you have today in the United States. In Argentina, you have a narrative, a creative narrative that is the following: one, that the problems of Argentina come from free market and capitalism, when Argentina has not had free market for 90 years at all. It's been an extremely intervened economy. Second, that dollarization already happened and that it was a disaster. No, they did not dollarize. What they did was a subterfuge, was to say that 1 peso was equal to $1, which is basically the same as if I go to the mirror and I say 1 Daniel is 1 George Clooney. Stupid, no?
Yeah.
And obviously, throughout time, that massive imbalance imploded, no?
Yeah, although from what I hear, it sounds like a lot of people down there are already using dollars anyway.
Exactly. That is a very good point.
Or Bitcoin. Yeah.
That is a very important point. Is that many of the Keynesian consensus economists say, "Oh, dollarization is impossible in Argentina." And I said, "What the hell are you talking about? Have you ever been to Argentina? Everybody's dollarized already, and in everything that they can. You cannot purchase an apartment in pesos. Nobody can. Or maybe you can 1 or 2, but most of real estate transactions are conducted in dollars. The valuable transactions are conducted in dollars. Citizens, the moment that they can, when they earn a salary in pesos, they do whatever they can to convert them to dollars. You go anywhere around Buenos Aires, there's people trying to that are giving you an underground exchange rate that is significantly better than the official rate. No? So so it's so any foreign person knows that if you go to Argentina and you don't need to exchange dollars to pesos.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Who are some of these people that are on his team that you think are really good?
Well, for example, I think that very valuable asset is Diana Morant. No, it's a very good woman, very strong. I think that she also provides, let's say, she also provides a social and a sort of not just economic, but also social and administrative approach to what needs to be done. The economic team that he has gathered is very, very strong. I mean, it's a very, very solid team.
Yeah, who was that first person you mentioned again?
Diana Morant.
Diana Morand?
I think, that's her surname.
I know that. Yeah, I think there was a Diana Mondino. I wasn't.
Mondino, sorry, my mistake. Sorry.
Yeah, she looks like she's good. And also his. What do you think about his running mate, Victoria Villarreal?
Yeah, well, I think you see, Diana and Victoria are two people that provide let's say a broad view of the Argentine economy. They've been very involved in social and in administrative issues. So that is quite a strong element to add to a government, no, in terms of ministers.
Yeah, it seems like Milei has what I would call a cool factor about him. He's made himself cool. Do you think it helps that he was a goalie in soccer and part of a rock band for a while, that makes him more cool than, I mean, a lot of economists, we don't really see them as people that, kids. I mean, he's kind of become like a rock star down there.
There is certainly a persona.
Yeah.
The hair, the attitude.
The hair.
There is certainly a persona. Whether having been a football player and a member of a rock band helped, maybe. I think that what truly made Milei somebody that is followed by people is his ability to say abruptly, without any level of trying to hold himself back, what everybody understands. No, so this is very clear message. Without, people see that he's honest. You may like him, you may dislike him, but there's one thing that you are absolutely certain, is that what he is saying that he wants to do, he wants to do.
What potential obstacles do you think he could run into when he does get elected? I mean, obviously the Congress and all that stuff. Or do you think he'll have a pretty cooperative Congress? What do you think it'll look like once he is elected? If he is elected?
Oh, if he is elected, it's going to be hell. It's going to be hell. This is a very, very cronyist system that has, in which, obviously, when you look at it from the outside, you say, I mean, come on, how can a rich country have 40% poverty, 125% inflation, and at the same time, nothing seems to happen? The reason why nothing seems to happen is there are a lot of powerful people do get a benefit out of it. No, same as in Venezuela. Yes. No, same as in Venezuela. A lot of people around Maduro are becoming extremely rich while everybody else is becoming extremely poor. That is socialism everywhere. No, a socialist system is always a system that generates enormous levels of wealth for people close to government while making everybody else poorer. So he is going to find an incredible backlash from all of those people if he becomes president. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think he'll have? I mean, I'm not aware of how the system of government works there. What will the Congress looks like? I mean, will he have any friends in there, or will they all be? I mean,
Right now, there is a significant dispute between the La Libertad Avanza, Javier's party, and Juntos por el Cambio, the coalition of parties that I would consider like the middle of the ground opposition to.
Juntos what?
It's called Juntos por el Cambio, Together for Change. Okay.
Para cambio.
It's Juntos, Juntos, yes. Por el Cambio.
Por el Cambio. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he will definitely need support from that coalition, I believe. And I think that if he becomes president, that coalition has to provide support to him in order to show to the Argentine citizens that there is life beyond the Peronist interventionism.
Yes. Yeah, although one person said that he's basically using Peronist methods to achieve libertarian ends. Would you say that's true? Or
what is Peronist methods?
Well, I guess maybe it's because he's very much of a showman and knows how to, put on a show. And he's
using the media. Absolutely. Yeah. He is providing simple messages, but not lies. Peronism is
I did not say he was lying.
no, I understand. I understand you don't.
But so much of this is
I
not.
think it's
the clothes.
but I think it's an important thing. I think it's an important thing is that Peronism is a very complicated type of let's say, it's not even an ideology. It shifts. You know? Now it's extreme left, you know? And very much close to the Maduro and the socialism of the 21st century. A few decades ago was extreme right.
Yeah.
Peronism is fundamentally a cronyist, semi-mercantilist system, in which a very small group have a very large level of control of the economy.
Certainly, yeah. What do you think will happen between now and the election? Do you think what will they try to do to defeat him, since obviously he's the front runner now?
Well, slander to start with. Yeah. I mean, that is every day. Yeah. You've heard the most insane accusations against him, from saying that he sleeps with his sister, which is ludicrous. No?
I hadn't heard that one, but yeah, I've heard his sister has a big influence on him, though.
Well, his sister is a very important figure.
Yeah.
But his sister has absolutely nothing to do with the corrupt system of politicians. She is simply somebody that provides stability, and I think that she's a very sort of like, she's not sort of like a head figure in a family. Obviously, you remember that Javier's father was not somebody that one would consider as a good parent. No?
Yeah.
So brothers are very, very, are very close to each other. Slander, accusation. Obviously, you've also read this. No, there was a massive devaluation the day after the elections, and they blamed the devaluation on the primary elections, which is stupid. No, everybody knows that the Central Bank of Argentina has been depreciating the currency over and over and over and over again. No, so yes, everybody will try to give the message that Milei is a threat to democracy, etc., when basically what he is a threat to a cronyist system.
Yeah, and he just has that one sister, right? He doesn't have any other siblings.
I believe he only has one sister.
And she's 8 years older, it sounds like. So.
I think so.
So it sounds like it'd be safe to say they're best friends, really, too.
Well, they're very close brothers. I'm very close with my brother. I have one brother. I'm very close to my brother. That's nothing else, but I am very close to my brother, and it's exactly the same. But in Argentina, also like in the United States or in Spain, immediately there is the character assassination becomes the political tool. Character assassination as the number one way of, let's say, canceling an opponent.
Yeah, that's always the way. Yeah, and also, often when you have a difficult upbringing, it either brings the siblings together or it rips them apart, and it goes either way. But also apparently he's got a girlfriend, Fatima Flores. How much of an influence do you think she is?
Well, I wouldn't say that the girlfriend is going to make any changes to what Milei. Javier has always been saying the same things.
Yeah, but she might consult him on what clothes to wear or something like that, too.
I don't know that. Javier knows that cultivating the persona and the sort of irrelevant but fun aspects of his personal life and his looks, etc., are helpful.
Yeah.
So he's going to continue to do that.
Yeah. Who does he talk? Who does he when he who are some of his influences? I mean, whom did he read? It sounds like he's read Milton Friedman and Murray Rothbard. Anybody else? I mean,
he quotes Hazlitt quite a bit.
Okay, Hazlitt. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but he talks. He's very well versed in economics in general, from Keynesian to many other schools, including Marxism. I have seen interviews with him on TV in which I find refreshing to hear somebody quoting Hazlitt or Hayek or Mises instead of quoting Piketty or somebody like that.
Yeah, Piketty. It's funny. I found out I have the exact same birthday as Piketty, and I'm like,
oh really?
Oh God! I'm like, no. It's like, isn't that awful? But yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's really great. And I suppose the colleges in Argentina are absolutely horrible, right? I mean, are they all just a bunch of socialists down there? I've heard that about South America as well.
Well, public education in Latin America and in Europe as well, most of Europe, is dominated by socialism. Academia is mostly dominated by socialism, to the extent that, as I said to you, when I studied at university, I studied economics. We studied Marx, we studied Keynes. We didn't go even close to any of the Austrian economists, let alone those economists that were, even in a time that was so-called, when I studied, the time of neoliberalism. Public universities in Latin America are fundamentally controlled by socialist messages. Yes.
Yeah. Where do you think he stands on some other non-economic issues? I mean, I've heard him say things in favor of private gun ownership, and where does he stand on some of the non-economic issues?
In most of the non-economic issues, he's very much of the view of personal freedom and responsibility. Mm-hmm. So non-economic issues, he is against free abortion. Mm-hmm. So not free as in state paid, no state taxpayer funded abortion. He is in favor of there's a big problem of crime in Argentina. There's a huge problem. Argentina is an enormous country, beautiful country, lovely country.
Yes. I think it's the 10th largest by land area, actually.
Yeah, it's an enormous country. And a lot of landowners and people that are working their farms, etc., have no means of defense. They call the police. The police might take, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 hours to get there if they are attacked. So that resonates. That the view of gun ownership resonates with that part of the population. We may, in cities in which, I don't know, if I call the police, they might be here in 10 minutes, okay? So I might not be in the need to own a gun to defend my property. But in Argentina, that is not the case. And in many parts of Argentina, with the rise of crime organizations in neighboring countries, there is a very significant threat to private property. So on that side, he is also in favor of changing the gun control laws. No?
Yeah, it's interesting too, because almost maybe about 40% of the people in the country live around Buenos Aires, right? I mean, So the rest of it is very sparsely populated, especially the far south.
You can go for miles in Argentina, going up north, even south and south of Buenos Aires, and see areas where there's very, very few people. Go to a village where there's very few people. So yes, it's a unique country in that sense, a very large country with a very uneven type of shape of the distribution of population.
Yeah, I didn't think about farmers and stuff not being able to defend themselves. That's very interesting. So what the gangs come and try to take their chickens or what? That's
well, not just to try and take their chickens, try to you basically steal everything they can. No.
Yeah, steal everything. Yeah, well, yeah. That's
But when you have 120% inflation,
yeah.
A lot of people are dependent on subsidies that are worth nothing in the local currency, and desperate. And desperate people do what they can, because there's 40% poverty. This is what was a few years ago one of the richest countries in the world.
Yes.
This is today one of the poorest in Latin America. 40% poverty in Argentina is not what we consider poverty in the United States or in Europe. A poor person in the United States is somebody that makes less than $20,000 a year. A poor person in Argentina is extreme poverty of what we would consider beyond homeless and derelict in the United States.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, the poorest country I've been to is Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are obviously
Americans who have never left America do not know what poverty looks like.
Exactly. I think that when people live in the United States and they talk about poverty, sometimes they need to get a little bit of information about what poverty really is, and it's not that far away.
And it sounds like to me, that people have just gotten desperate enough that they want something that they want to change. What demographics are supporting Milei the most, and what demographics is he doing I mean, city people versus country people, north versus south, men versus women. I mean,
it's a great question. I think that I don't have the details with me out of the top of my head, but what I certainly know is that the last time I was in Argentina, which was before, it was in June, sorry. Last time I was in Argentina, young people would come to me. I'm relatively known in Argentina, would come to me and say, "Do you know Milei?" No? It's like, I've heard that you're a friend, blah, blah. So young people, certainly. And also the lower middle class people that the driver that was taking me around Buenos Aires when I was there was desperate because he had been saving to get a ticket for him and his family to go to Europe, and he had been saving for an entire year. And by the time that he had considered that he had saved enough, the prices had multiplied by 3.
Yes.
So, and I said to him, you understand that prices have not multiplied by 3. You understand that it's the peso that has gone down monstrously, no, in terms of purchasing power. And he said, yes, but there's nothing I can do. So those are the people that are suffering the most. The richest are fully dollarized. They probably even have their money and their savings outside of Argentina. Okay?
The poorest in real estate or stuff like that too. Yeah.
The poorest are dependent on subsidies that are worth nothing. So it's the lower to middle classes that actually understand the message of Milei,
Yeah, that's really good. How much of an impact do you think this is going to have on the rest of South America? I can only see this being good. I mean, it's maybe inspired Mileis in other countries. I mean,
yeah. You see, in Latin America, the Bolsonaro effect in Brazil was not positive. And the reason why it wasn't positive was because it was too close to viewed as not as a libertarian, but which he isn't, but a right-wing populist, which is a different thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
So I think that when Latin America currently is suffering from extreme left government in Colombia, extreme left government in Chile, extreme left government in Argentina, extreme left government in Brazil, so extreme left is in power in most of these countries. Coming with a sort of center-right type of mainstream approach is certainly not going to work. But a libertarian approach resonates with the messages of the people that want real change.
Yeah.
I think that is the difference. The difference between the libertarian view or libertarian approach of Javier Milei relative to what is usually the opposition to the extreme left in Latin America is that usually in the rest of the countries, the opposition to the extreme left is perceived as the status quo.
Yeah, that's good. Does Milei have any well-known supporters in Argentina, or is he just basically just a mass support for him? I mean,
well-known supporters as in famous people?
Yeah, somebody like Messi, for example. Yeah.
Well, it's a good question. Like in Europe and also in the United States, very evident, people who support libertarianism or even right-wing conservatism tend to be quiet because the everything that has to do with sports and with fashion or music or cinema is controlled by the left as well. So you can be openly left-wing, but most people that are not left-wing tend to just try to avoid talking about politics.
Yeah, I've heard also that he has some friends outside the country. Like I've heard, for example, that he's friends with Maria Corina Machado in Venezuela.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and
yes.
And also curious, is he how much is he following? And I'd like to get your opinion. What do you think about Bukele in El Salvador?
I think it's a different thing.
Yeah,
I think that Bukele in El Salvador is a further step in a process that has been very successful because they already dollarized.
Yeah.
Okay. So Milei is Javier Milei is a different thing.
Yeah.
But again, you're coming back to allegiances, no? Maria Corina Machado, great woman, great freedom fighter. She's not a libertarian. She is not a libertarian in any sense of the word, US or Europe. But obviously, she is defending freedom in Venezuela. So obviously, Milei is always going to defend those that defend freedom, even if there are wide differences in many other aspects.
Yeah, and of course, in all these, all these people speak Spanish, so you can get names from different news sources and stuff like that. What are some good? What are some of the big news channels and stuff in Argentina that people might want to check out? Obviously, they're in Spanish, but
numerous. No? You can listen to Paolo Rossi on the radio. It's a very, very good program. You can also watch CNN in Argentina. Is very, very good. Although you might think that compared to the United States, where there's more of a social democrat view, La Nación, Clarín. There are a number of very good outlets. And Argentina is, interestingly enough, a country in which the media is actually quite open and quite receptive. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think Americans might learn from Milei?
I think that what Americans need to learn from Milei is, um, if you toy around with socialism, you get socialism, but then you don't get it. Then you don't come back. How
Yeah.
difficult it is. I think that the example of Milei is not the example of Milei, but the example of Argentina. Is that once you enter down, you go down the path of socialism, poverty and economic depression is a given, and it takes ages to come back
Yeah.
to freedom. No,
I should rephrase that. I mean, we've had an American Libertarian Party that's over 50 years old, and we've never gotten more than 2% of the vote in a presidential election. What can American libertarians do? I mean, how could American libertarians copy Milei? That's the question, because I think that's why everybody's looking at this, because they're wondering, what is he doing that the rest of us aren't doing? Because this is success that's so much more than any other libertarian politician has achieved.
I think that what libertarians have to do all over the world is to stop trying to be trying to make nice with, or be nice to, the consensus social democrat view.
Yeah.
I think that it's basically, ultimately it has to be a strong leader that unmistakably defends the principles of freedom and an open economy, and that gives a message of hope to those people that find, in the case of the United States, that the Republicans or the Democrats don't provide that space that is truly defending freedom. Ultimately, in the United States, you have it a lot easier than in Argentina, because the only thing that you need to do is find a leader that adheres 100% to the principles of the founding fathers of the United States.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Daniel, one reason why I'm actually often more optimistic about South America, though, is because, as far as I know, it seems to be a place where marriage and family is still taken seriously, whereas in America, marriage and family have just become a joke. I mean, we've got a 50% divorce rate in America. We're getting to the point where we're going to have more single people than married people. I don't know how that compares to Argentina, but
the path of socialism.
How you get it back when you go down that road?
Yeah, the path of socialism is always to destroy family and free will.
Yeah,
family is the pillar of freedom, because the values that we inherit come from family. When you replace family and you put the state, it is always going to lead to serfdom. So I would agree with you. I'm also more optimistic about the United States. And I'll tell you why. Because although all of that is true, there is one thing that that happens, is that there is one thing that happens that nobody is testing, and that nobody is at least so far able to test, which is private property. The importance of private property is critical, and that in the United States you might differ about everything, but not about private property. In Latin America, I think that the reason why I'm hopeful is because of Chile. In Chile, you had an extreme left coalition win the elections. They were unable to change the constitution. They have been completely unable to implement the policies that they wanted to implement. They're basically, people actually are responding quicker to the destruction of freedom than I would have imagined. So I'm positive, yes.
Yeah, I should ask this sooner also. What was Milei's reaction to all the policies around the coronavirus and all this insanity?
Ah, you can imagine. You can imagine Argentina, alongside Spain, actually. Argentina implemented the most aggressive lockdown policies. And come back to what we said about
Peru, but yeah,
it was worse than much worse than Peru. It was insanity. It was insanity. And think about this. We mentioned before the level of dispersion of population in 90% of the country is enormous. So so the country actually should have had, let's say, more logical and measures, and instead they implemented the most aggressive ones, obviously, to implement control over people. So he was radically against, obviously, the measures of the Kirchner government in terms of the lockdown.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Anything to say about his opponents? I mean, in this election, I mean,
yes, obviously
establishment hacks. It sounds like, or
the candidate of the Peronist party, Mr. Massa, doesn't have any credibility because he's been the Minister of Economy. You put the Minister of Economy with 120% inflation, telling you that he is going to give subsidies to everyone, and everyone says, you know what, thank you, but you've already told me that bullshit, and you've already given me money that's worth nothing. Then you have this important faction, which is the coalition I mentioned before, Together for Change, Juntos por el Cambio. No, this is critical. This is critical. This is, imagine for a second that you had a strong libertarian candidate in the United States that might be president. That candidate, no matter how you want to see it, can only succeed if the equivalent of the Republicans support. And that is the same in Argentina.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the same. Yeah. I know there's that other one, Bullrich. Is that her name?
Patricia Bullrich is a very, very good person, very strong candidate. She's very mainstream, very moderate, very calm down. She's very much a state person, but she is somebody that is going to be critical to achieve the reforms that are required for Argentina. And when she's had media confrontations with Javier, she has mentioned a few times, this is fire between friends. So there's hope there.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see another generation of young Mileis, and this could have what kind of long-term impact is this going to have? I don't see. I think it's I'm extremely
optimistic. And I may be wrong, but I'm extremely optimistic.
Yeah, I mean,
myself, Milei, so many people in different countries. I'm privileged to be very well known in Spain and in Latin America, etc. And I see the incredible support from young people, and you can see it in social media, from YouTube to Twitter, or X to in social media. The messages of freedom win hands down.
Yeah.
This and universities may be full of or controlled by the socialist crowd. They may be, but I also have to remind everyone that was also the case in the 70s, and we got the 80s.
Yeah. It sounds like it's gonna go pretty positive. I hope things do get better down there. I mean, it's there's a I'm actually it's funny. Yeah, this is making me want to go down there. I've been to Peru, I've been to Colombia, and I've been to Mexico several times. But it's like maybe I should go down there and just. And not to mention, I've heard it's really beautiful in a lot of different places.
Oh, it's a great country. It's
Yeah.
the pity about Argentina is it's such an incredible country, and you go there, the people are amazing, the country is incredible. You go there and you see a country that should be one of the top 10 economies in the world, and it's one of the top, it's one of the bottom economies in the OECD.
Yeah, what are some of the things what do they produce down there? It sounds like they produce really good beef. I think they have some oil.
Beef, soya, oil, lithium, everything. It's incredible. It's incredible that it is a country that has natural resources, plenty, but also human capital. Very strong human capital. Think about this for a second. Argentina is a country that exports talent all over the world. I've worked in the United States, I've worked in the UK, I've worked in Europe, and in the finance world, there's phenomenal Argentine professionals everywhere that have left the country. Argentina has an incredible pool of human capital. The problem is that the system throws it out of the country. Is that those people simply leave, no? So that's why I'm hopeful.
Where do they go? They go to America. They go to
Spain.
Spain.
Everywhere. You go to the United States. I've worked in the United States when I was in Chicago, when I was in New York, when I was in LA. Argentine people, doing things, entrepreneurs, working hard, doing very well, exceedingly good. Finance people, very, very good investors, phenomenal.
Yeah, there's a lot of good investors. Yeah, just wondering, since you're in Spain, what do you think about the prospects for Spain?
The prospects for Spain are so close to Argentina, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it's what we talked about before. Is that the difference in Spain is that we're within the European Union and within the Eurozone. So the Spanish government cannot go and print money like this now tomorrow.
Yes.
Because if they could, I guarantee you that today we would have a level of inflation that may not be close to that of Argentina, but could be 30-40%. So the problem of Spain is a problem of a country in which an extractive and confiscatory policy from the side of governments has basically led to loss of opportunity in terms of productivity, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of growth, in terms of jobs. Highest unemployment rate in the world, and nobody leaves.
Okay. Yeah. Is there something like, I know Britain has the Commonwealth of Nations where it's very easy to trade among all the former English colonies. Is there a Spanish equivalent of that? Like, where, free trade agreements like between all the Spanish speaking countries, or easy travel between all the Spanish speaking countries?
There is. It's any Spanish citizen can travel all around Latin America with almost no problem whatsoever. You don't need visas, etc. And also in terms of trade, there are dozens of free trade agreements.
Yeah, and when you look at it, there have been there have been some wars, but there have been very few wars in South America. It's just,
there have been quite a few revolutions.
I guess when you speak the same language, that helps. But
yeah, and also, when you cannot spend too much money on the military, then your ability to enter into a war is also complicated. But for example, country you mentioned, Peru. Chile, Peru, Bolivia, all these countries have always been sort of in some sort of tension, Colombia, Venezuela. And I think that, very few wars, yes.
It sounds like it's great down there. It looks like to me there is a lot of potential for.
Anyone that goes to Latin America sees the incredible potential of the region. It's just, is unfortunately hindered by interventionism all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not that. Yeah, yeah. Any place else in South America that you're optimistic about or not so optimistic about? I mean,
I'm very. I think that the situation in Colombia is quite challenging.
yeah.
I'm optimistic about Chile. I'm optimistic about Ecuador, El Salvador, Costa Rica. So
Uruguay sounds really nice too. I mean, they didn't.
Guatemala,
Yeah, Uruguay. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of insanity with
Uruguay, yeah,
where. Yeah,
Uruguay, Guatemala.
yeah, Guatemala. Yeah, yeah, Mexico. This could be very interesting. I know there's some of the forces like the Sao Paulo Forum and
Ah, that's that is what is basically leading Latin America to a lost decade, unfortunately. The Sao Paulo
yeah.
Forum is
Well,
the implementation of socialism of the 21st century at any cost.
yeah, and I don't know how old you are, but and I've said it many times. I was a very politically aware 18-year-old when the Berlin Wall came down. None of us thought we'd be fighting socialism like this 30 years later.
That was the mistake, thinking that reality and facts
Yeah,
would work. This is the biggest mistake that freedom defenders have made, is to think that the evidence of the failure of socialism was going to stop them.
yeah.
So they mutated into climate, social justice defenders, etc., and they're doing exactly the same thing.
Oh yes, yeah. In America, they don't even now the proletariat is the women is the female and the bourgeoisie is the male. It's gotten so ridiculous. It's I don't know where it's going to go. I guess I'm and maybe libertarians in general are probably more pessimistic about America than libertarians outside of America, though. But there's always been
I think that um, I've had the pleasure of working and living in the United States for a few
yeah,
years, and Americans are always very, very critic about their own country, and that's great,
yeah,
and that is part of the reason why it's a great nation. But uh, there are a number of things that make me be very hopeful about the United States, and the first one is that you have a lot of the things that were viewed as we have to do them because it's working in Europe. You now look at Europe and you say, well, I don't want to do that. You see what I mean?
yeah,
So one of the good things about America is that one of the bad things about America is that citizens in America wholeheartedly embrace crazy ideas very quickly. But then when they don't work, they say, oh, the great thing about fashion is that it goes out of fashion.
yeah.
And this is what's likely to happen in the United States with this trend of interventionism and government.
I've never asked anybody this yet. What does obviously he has to fix domestic things domestically, but what does Milei say about foreign policy? I mean, has he said anything about the Russia's war with Ukraine? Has he ever said anything?
He has been misquoted about relationships with China and relationships with other countries. What he has said is basically that he will have strong trade and diplomatic relationships with countries that defend freedom, and that he is not going to oppose trade with other countries, but obviously the priority is those that defend freedom.
Yeah, I know. And is he pretty well traveled or not? I mean,
yeah,
probably around South America, but yeah.
No, he has been traveling all over the world. He has known. I think he's been to Europe, been to Israel, been to Asia, been to North America, Canada, Mexico, United States. So yes.
Yeah. Well, and Buenos Aires is far from everything. So yeah, That is what some people tell me. It's a drawback about it. You've got a long flight, no matter where, almost where you're going. It's
You bet there is.
Yeah, you said he went to Europe. He went to Israel. He's went to
Yeah.
And I know there's been talk about getting him as a speaker. He's also said that he's very much, you mentioned, supporter of gun rights. What about things like legalizing marijuana or other?
I have not heard him, or at least I don't remember anything particular about drugs.
Yeah. It's been well, what do you think his chances are right now? I mean, do you think maybe there'll be a coalition built against him, or do you think he's got a good shot at winning?
I think he's got a good shot of winning, because there is no chance in hell that the two other opposing that I mentioned, the Peronists and the Together for Change coalition would unite against him.
Yeah, and it sounds like if he gets in there, then hopefully this will work out. And I hope the Argentines, because good times aren't going to come overnight when you have a situation like this.
No, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while, and it'll get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, do you think maybe? I wonder if he's followed people like Václav Klaus in the Czechia, who really helped bring them out of communism, or somebody like Mart Laar in Estonia. Is he talking to anybody like that?
Oh, of course. No, he has very good relationships with Estonia, in the Czech Republic, in Poland. Yes, absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm.
Estonia has become one of the freest countries in Europe.
Yes, it is. It's an incredible country. It's amazing. It's amazing what that country has done. The turnaround in so few years, thanks to freedom, is incredible.
Yeah. Any other countries that really stand out that are doing really well, in your opinion?
Ireland.
You're really well, Chair.
Ireland.
Oh, so I was in Southern Ireland a while ago. I just couldn't believe how beautiful it was, and
Ireland
was so clean.
Ireland is the country you cannot name in Europe, because it's doing so phenomenally well, while everybody else is just basically dragging the feet. And that's also because of the same thing: opening, free trade, low taxes, freedom. It's when you let people move freely, they achieve phenomenal things. But Estonia, Bulgaria is incredible. Lithuania, and all these countries that have freed themselves from the weight of the Soviet Union are just soaring. Obviously, they're very small countries, but they have a young population, and they want to do things, and it's incredible.
Yeah, the two former Soviet places I've been to were in the Caucasus region. And well, they call them Hayastan and Sakartvelo, but Armenia and Georgia.
Yeah.
Wonderful people.
Oh, great. Georgia, amazing people, incredible people.
Yeah. And it seemed like there was it just seemed like there was a lot of optimism there. It wasn't perfect, but it seemed like,
well, of course,
this place is going in the right direction.
Young people, young population that wants to achieve things, that wants to make better things. I mean, and low taxes, more freedom, it thrives.
Yeah. I have to admit, I am a little pessimistic about the EU in general, because it seems like it's just a super regulatory state. What do you think about that?
It is.
I mean, free trade is great, but it doesn't seem like the EU really is about free trade. It's just about removing.
No, it's about protectionism disguised as environmentalism. It's incredibly protectionist.
Well, also, you're about putting I mean, why are they? Like the Hungarians had to change their milk because of it being in the EU and stuff like that. It's like, why do we have to do that?
It's about a constant burden of new regulation every day, every hour. So it is certainly an over-regulated. Obviously, You have strong countries, but it's a challenge.
What do you think the future holds for Russia and China?
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be tough because they are trying to achieve growth and prosperity with policies that don't work.
Yeah.
And they know, and it's so amazing to see that a country like China, like Russia, that thrived the moment that they opened.
Yeah.
And now they're looking to close their economies. It's a pity.
Yeah, it is. It is a pity. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm glad.
Thank you so much. Same here.
I don't know if anybody out there is covering Milei in English the way I am. If there is, I don't know them. Well, there's probably lots of Spanish coverage there, but I've talked to lots of great people, and you were one of the best on here. And I don't think I've ever found anybody who actually knows Milei this well. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you too. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go, or any?
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, and keep defending freedom.
And your website is it's
www.
Alpha Strategy Consulting.
No, it's dlacalle.com. So DLACALLE.com.
Oh, yes.
Twitter account at dlacalle_IA. It's not difficult to find me. You put Daniel Lacalle on Google and you find me.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Daniel Lacalle. Yeah, it's been great having you here. Really, hopefully.
Have a good one.
Maybe next time we'll just talk about more things. Yeah, because, okay, well, thank you very much. Please check out my Substack. Subscribe to the channel. Follow the channel. Like the video. Thumbs up. Buy my novel, Escape from the Village. And I'm Chris Baker. We're out.